Narja is finally out. She's a character that's been teased since before the game even released. She is an instinct controller, our first non-DPS banner, and I think that her role is mainly a healer with a bit of damage boost and also some personal damage as well. She's a character that kind of does a bunch of different things instead of just going super hard into one specific thing, and there's going to be parts of her kit that other characters are better at her than, but one of the really nice things about her, I think, is her flexibility, and there's also parts of her kit that just aren't being fully utilized due to a lack of characters to take advantage of them. She is a support, so I think one of the things that we want to look at when we're talking about her is not necessarily what her actual best setup is, but just who do you want to support with her, and then how do you build her to maximize them. So we'll go over that in this video, as well as all of her kit, cards, partners, potential save data, memory fragments, and whatnot. Starting off, let's talk about what's good about Narja. I think the best thing about Narja is that when you're trying to summon her, you can get big discounts on lootbar.gg. No matter what you're looking to pick up, Lootbar provides it fast, secure, and at a more affordable price, with 24/7 customer service and refunds guaranteed. If you haven't gotten your double crystals yet, applying it on Lootbar can save you up to $30 if it's your first purchase. Lootbar has been providing deals for games for years, giving them over 30,000 reviews on Trustpilot with an average rating of 4.9. New users can currently get 2 coupons for an additional 12% and 8% off their purchases, so make sure to click on the link below and sign up now. Next up, the main draw for Narja is I think her healing is really nice. Like, she does a ton of healing. There are certain conditions to her healing, of course, and you have to play around her mechanics, but even with this sub DPS build I have, which I think is going to be her best build overall, she's been healing fine for me. I'm also not fully taking advantage of some of the Epiphanies that could boost her healing even further. If you really need to, you could like give her more healing as needed, but I think this sub DPS build has been working fine for me. I also mentioned that she has damage boost. She does have a good amount of damage boost, though it's a bit complicated. You have to play around her damage boost in a pretty specific way. So I think in terms of being a pure damage buffer, I still prefer Ray. So Narja has her upsides, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Next up, while she doesn't necessarily generate AP, she has cost reduction on some of the cards in her kit. And this lets her kind of function as not really an AP generator, but she lets you play more cards with the AP that you have. This is why this plus her healing and just her being worse as a buffer, I think, than Ray, I think that she should be looked at more as a Mika replacement more than a Ray replacement. Also, she has good enough personal damage, I would say. You could build her as a DPS for fun, but that's kind of just a meme build. You're mainly just going to have her as a support that also has a bit of damage herself. Now, what are her issues? Her issues as the Mika replacement, she also completely lacks the draw. She really struggles with getting all of her cards. She's card negative, and also mainly that's it, to be honest, because there's certain builds you can do that make her AP not an issue. The main issue is just trying to draw all of your cards. So let's take a look at her cards first. I'm actually going to start off with her mythics this time because we need to explain her unique buffs. Her kit largely revolves around her 2 unique buffs, Voracity and Predation. These are consumable damage buffs is the way that I would look at it, and these can be used by anybody on your team. For Voracity, when you hit with an attack card, 40% fixed heal, and if you have more than half your HP, you get 30% damage boost to attack cards. And this is actually 40%, because later on in the potential tree, you will increase this by 10% to 40. It says when hitting, and this means that if you use an attack card that hits twice, you will consume 2 Voracity stacks. Predation is another big damage boost. If you have Voracity, then you get plus 80%, later plus 100%, once you fill out your potential tree, damage dealt by attack cards, and it doesn't read like it, but it does count per hit as well. So if you use, say, Shadow of the Moon Plus, a 3-hit card, you would use 3 Voracity stacks and 3 Predation stacks to get 140 damage on each hit. So a lot of her damage boost centers around this. Her mythic card, if Veracity is decreased, decrease cost by 1. And this works the same way that Mika's 4-cost Whirlpool does, where you can start decreasing the card before it even gets into your hand. If you're cycling like your entire deck every single turn, you don't have to worry about like, oh, I need to get Mealtime and then consume Veracity. You can just consume the Veracity and draw into the Mealtime later. That's not going to be a problem. It does also have Retain, so if you already have the card and you haven't had the chance to really get any Veracity yet, then you will just hold on to it, and then once it hits 0 cost, you'll play it. This card is, of course, 0 cost because you'll only play this when it hits 0. That makes it pretty strong, because it has a lot of effects. You get 30% more heal, maximum 10, so 300 for each Veracity used, so 10 Veracity gets you 300 extra heal, on top of the base 120 heal for 420% heal. You also get 192% AoE damage, and then she has like the damage boost too, so this would be a higher number, of course. And you get 4 Predation after using this card. This card is unfortunately unique, so it cannot be duplicated, which makes sense given how strong this card is. It's easily one of her best cards. I'm going to go over Ego Skill 2 because this is related. So this gives you 10 Veracity, as well as a single target 250% defense-based damage. If you already used Mealtime, so it's in your graveyard, you also get 5 Predation. So you would only really use this after you've used Mealtime. It's an additional combo, so let's say you do Mealtime into Veracity, or into the Ego skill, that's 10 Veracity and 9 Predation, which is pretty solid. Taking a look at her basic cards now, this basic attack, get rid of it. It's just not very useful. The heal, we of course need this for Chaos, we'll want this for healing, and I think in her final save data you do want to remove these two. It can get kind of costly removing 3 basics though, so if you have to keep one, it's fine, it's not the worst card in the world, you at least get 2 Veracity out of it, which is not fantastic, but it could be worse. Next up, let's take a look at Shackles of Hunger. This is a 3-hit card that gives you 4 Veracity on draw. It has Attunement, and for anybody not familiar, this just activates the second you draw the card. Taking a look at her Epiphanies, the first one adds an extra hit and you get 2 more Veracity, so this makes you go +2 Veracity on drawing the card pretty much, because you draw the card and you play it, you end up with a net +2 Veracity. The Veracity adds 40% damage, so it's 76 times 4, that's roughly like 304 or something, I don't know if my math is right. Pretty solid for a 1-cost card, and of course if you have other damage boost sources, this also stacks up too. I think this card is a pretty good option overall, just because it's damage +2 Veracity, and then if you're going like DPS, Narja for fun, this is going to be one of her core cards, just because you get a bunch of damage, plus you get 2 extra Veracity to use on your other cards as well. The second card I think is kind of interesting. So if you procced Veracity 3 times in the previous turn, it moves to your hand. This effectively thins out your deck, because since it's always moving to your hand, you never have to draw it. And also, this card is pretty easy to like fulfill the condition of 3 Veracity is just hit 3 times. That's not a lot. It's pretty easy to set up. The damage is nothing like amazing. It's 36 times 2, but it is a 0 cost. Like this was 36 times 4. This is half the damage for a 0 cost is good enough, I think. Now, do keep in mind that because of the way that Narja works, she has so much damage boost. Just having the hits is actually pretty impactful. Like this being, if this was 18 times 4 versus 36 times 2, it'd be pretty different in damage. It has Attunement 1 Veracity, but if this card is like, it depends on how you're moving this card to your hand, really, because if it's only moving out of your discard pile, then it's not going to proc the Attunement. The Attunement has to come from your draw pile, though the Attunement is worth mentioning. I think this card is decent depending on your setup, because especially if you like are really struggling with card draw, this you never have to actually draw this card, so it's nice for deck thinning. And it doesn't cost any AP to play, which is really nice as well. Third one This one's kind of a meme one. I don't think you would ever use this card in isolation, but you have other sources of Voracity. You could have like one copy of this card, and then I think one of the funny builds is like if you can somehow split the Epiphanies on this and get like 2 or 3 copies of this one, and then 1 copy of this, plus a couple of other Voracity generations, you get a bunch of hits on this. It'd be a 6-hit card, which is pretty sick, but this is just for meme builds with DPS Narja. This fourth one is nice, but conditional. You consume 5 Voracity to increase the damage of a single attack card by 40% per Voracity consumed, so that's 200%. This essentially loads out like 5 hits of Voracity all into one, and this, the way it reads is it says the next attack card used, so this should just work on the entire card. This means that cards with a bunch of multi-hits, like Melee Kick is kind of cheating, but something like even Shadow of the Moon Plus, 3 hits, you would get 200 extra damage per hit. And also, if you decreased 5, that would give you 3 Predation. So if we're still looking at Shadow of the Moon Plus, that would be 200 plus 3, or plus 3 Predation, 3 hits, so it's 100 each, so it's 300 plus the Voracity, that's plus 340. Assuming you have 3 Voracity left over after using this, you have to have at least 1 to even proc the Predation. But it's a lot of damage boost. I think this is really nice for multi-hit cards. It's retained, so you can hold on to it too. It's just a damage boost, pretty much, for a single card. And then this fifth one, I think is pretty useless, at least in the current state of the game. Like, maybe if you really get that desperate for sustain, you could use this. It's a 0 cost minus 3 Voracity for what, like a 288% shield, which is solid for a 0 cost if we ignore the fact that it consumes your Voracity. I don't think this card is very good. It would have to, like, there'd have to be something that really makes you need the shielding. So overall, I think the best Epiphany is either the first or second one. It just kind of depends on what you're doing. The first one, of course, is higher damage, extra Voracity. You end up net plus 2, but it does cost AP. The second one, you never have to draw it. It doesn't cost any AP, but you kind of go negative on Voracity on this. Third one is memes. I'm just going to say it's like a 2 out of 5. It's for meme builds. The fourth one is conditional. It's really, really good in some cases. Otherwise, it's just like only certain characters can make use of this. Like if you're running a Serennial, you play way too many cards to really fully take advantage of this, I would say. So I'm just going to put this as like a... It's like a 4 out of 5, but conditional. And then this fifth one just kind of sucks, at least the way that the game is right now. I don't think you need the shield. Maybe, that's something to talk about later, actually. There's a potential use for this card, just for, like, if you're running a counter-focus deck and you really want the shield that badly, you could do that. Next up is Bottomless Hunger. So the base effect is, the next 2 times you activate Voracity, you decrease the cost of 1 random card in your hand by 1 for 1 turn. The upgraded effect, the first one gives you 3 Voracity, so this is really nice because it gives you the Voracity that you need to consume. This is the card that I'm talking about when I say that she reduces the cost of your cards instead of generating AP. It is a random card, so you have a bit less control over what gets the reduction, but ideally you're not going to be like running decks with bad cards, hopefully, so hopefully this will only hit the cards that you want it to hit. This is a really nice card. I think this is just her best card. It's minus 2 cost, you get 3 Voracity for 0 AP. Pretty good. The second one is just a worse version of the first card, I think. It's decreased the cost of 2 random cards in your hand by 1 for 1 turn. It's the exact same card, except there's no condition. Like, you don't have to proc Voracity, but you also don't gain any Voracity. I think the use case of this is really just if you don't have attack cards to, like, proc the Voracity if you're playing like a character that does like one big boom and you really don't have ways to proc Voracity very well, though even like Portrait of Fury procs Voracity. So this is kind of just like a worse version of the last one, but third one, one Voracity is activated 3 times in one turn, decrease the cost of one random card in hand by 1 until used. So this is really interesting. Until used means that you could carry this over between turns, is how this reads. Also, being a upgrade, it does thin out your deck, and you never have to you don't have to play into this card. It's just it would permanently be active once a turn. Maybe there's some fun uses for this. I'm not sure exactly how I would go about using this card, to be honest, but I don't think it's that bad. The fourth one, so this one is where it gets kind of interesting, because I mentioned that there's just characters that don't fully take advantage of what this character can do, and one of them is her ability to buff defense-based damage. So this is one of her 2 cards that does that. This one is a retain, you hold on to it, it's a 0 cost, you play it for free, and then the it's just 100% defense-based damage. There's not too much to say about it. It's just the damage boost, but it's specifically defense-based damage. Also, if you're playing like DPS Narja, this would boost her self-damage, of course. The 5th one is kind of funny. You get 7 Voracity, and then for 1 turn, each time Voracity is activated, you get 40% damage to your next Mealtime. Mealtime is not a multi-hit card, so the damage boost is just a plus 40%, but it is an AoE. This is kind of funny memes for just dropping a big Mealtime nuke. I don't think it's very practical, but it is funny. Also, note that if you duplicate this card, it's not going to, it increases the turn. It does not give you, say, 120% damage amount per Voracity activated. You can stack this super high with certain builds, but this is mostly for memes, I think. Overall, I think this first card is one of the best copy targets if you find out that your deck just needs more cost reduction. If you don't have the AP to play all of the cards in your deck, then you might want to copy this one. I think otherwise there's other cards that you can copy, but this one can be pretty solid if you find yourself wanting the cost reduction again. And so this is a 5 out of 5, I would say. I think this is just one of her best cards overall. This one's kind of a worse version of it. I'll just give it a 3. And this one I'll say is a 4. It has its upsides compared to the first one. You would of course need other sources of Voracity generation, and then this fourth one can't I can't say it's bad because it would be good in a specific situation. I'll just say it's conditional. And then the 5th one is for memes, though it does have pretty solid Voracity generation. 1 cost, 7 Voracity. Not the worst. We'll say it's a 3 as well. Next up, Voluntary Control. If Voracity is fewer than 6, you get 6 Voracity. And if you have 6 or more stacks, you get 2 Predation. So this is just pretty much giving you a bunch of your unique buffs. There's 5 versions of this card, of course. The first one boosts the Voracity gain to 9, and then the Predation gain to 3. I think this one is good if you are just completely struggling with getting Voracity in your deck. If you went, say, the upgrade Blooming or Bottomless Hunger, then you could potentially pick this up just to have a source of Voracity gain. I think it'll balance out too. If you have too much Voracity, it gives you Predation. This card is solid. It's just for generating your unique buffs pretty much. The second one is, I think, where it gets interesting. So if Mealtime is in your draw pile, you move it to your hand. More importantly, if it's in your graveyard, you get 3 morale for 1 turn. This is effectively a flat plus 60% damage boost, and the big thing is that it's not consumed, because one of the things with Voracity and especially Predation is that they get consumed per hit, so it can be a bit annoying trying to maintain them, but then something like this, you would just permanently have the 3 morale, at least for that turn, plus it's 0 cost. This card is really, really nice, I think. Like, it just enables you to save so much AP while you're buffing. A lot of your other cards, like, need you to spend AP. Like, even this first one, right? You have to spend AP to get your damage boost. This just gives you your damage boost. I think that this card is generally maybe going to be her best one, just because it's 3 morale, it'll stick. Like, even if you're playing like a billion cards, the morale will still be there, plus it's 0 cost. And then for the third one, this one's kind of funny, because it lasts for 2 turns, so if you're fighting like a boss or something, and it consistently takes like long actions, this could give you a lot of veracity. Though I do think it is mostly for like niche / meme usage, because even if you're getting like, you're getting a bunch of veracity, but it's kind of like spread out. This, like, if you have case cards or even just like cards that, what is it, like stop, like Wanderer or something, or cards that increase their cooldown count. Increasing cooldown count could be interesting, because then you would be able to get more veracity out of it. But it's going to be inconsistent value too, just because not like you. What if you fight something that has very short action counts? Meme card. Fourth one is interesting. So you get 10 veracity, and then it's an upgrade, so you only play it once. You get 10 veracity, and then you select an attack card, 1 predation each time that card is moved to hand. This is interesting, especially because predation is like consumed per hit. Haru is who I thought of when I saw this, because you would like spam the anchor point and keep on moving it back to your hand, and you get a free 100% damage boost each time the card is moved to your hand. Is kind of nice. I think it has to be characters like that, right? Serenial could also use it, but I don't like. I think with Serenial you just go this one, right? Because you get 1 predation every time. Let's say like you ravaged and you move your homing lasers back into your hand. It's 1 predation. 3 morale is going to just out damage it after 2 lasers. So I think this really just has to be like Haru, or if we ever get like more characters that just want to cycle like a single card back into their hand over and over again. It's unique, so you can't select a bunch of cards either. It just really has to be like that 1 card punch. This 5th card is good, but it's niche. Each time a basic card inflicts a hit, you get 1 veracity, and then plus 50% damage amount to basic attack cards. There's 2 characters that can use this. It's Meilin and Chizuru if you go the Oni Rush Generate Moonslash build. So overall, this first one is really good. Like, I don't know if I want to have 5 out of 5. I'll give this like a 4.5 out of 5. It's good if you need the veracity and predation. The second one is my favorite, 5 out of 5, just because the morale sticks around. It's 0 cost. I don't have to like think super hard about like, I'm playing this card now, does the predation up, I'm going to consume the predation on this. Nope, it's morale, you just use it, it's fine. The second one, meme build, we'll give it like 2 out of 5. The fourth one is niche, and also I don't think its niche is very good. It's conditional for sure, but I will also give it like a 3 out of 5. And then the fourth one is conditional 5 out of 5. Like, if you're running her with Meilin, you're just going to use this. It's 50% damage amount, and you get to pretty much permanently maintain veracity for completely free. No reason to not accept, right? The conditional 5 out of 5. And then, oh, I forgot to mention, your copy priority is just, it's this. It's going to be, like, you're going to copy this card so much. And, well, we'll talk a bit more about copies at the end. Last one, this one's fast. Domain of Veracity, I skipped the base effect, don't worry about it. The first one is actually one of the more interesting ones, because it's an AoE attack. It increases their tenacity damage taken by 100% until the next Ravage, and on net Ravage, 3 Veracity. I think this is only really useful if they have a bunch. If you hit like 4 units with it or something, because since it's an AoE attack, this effect procs on every single unit. You can get 12 veracity out of this, and get a bunch of tenacity like damage out of it. So I think that's when it's useful. Otherwise, I don't like it that much, especially given her draw issues. The second one, this is for either if you're running her with like def scaling units, or she is the def scaling unit and you're running DPS. This is nice. It's 2 turns, which is kind of crazy. It increases the damage, defense-based damage taken by the target for 2 turns, which I think is like 2 turns is long. That's kind of crazy. So this is the defense scaling support or Narja DPS card at its niche use. This one, bonus healing. Why? This one is 3 cost. I think that alone is like a reason to not use it. It's a big damage nuke, and you nuke twice, but it's 3 cost. The last one, this one is nice because I think this card like largely sucks in most scenarios with the units that we have right now. So with this one, I play it once and it gets out of my deck and I never have to see it again because it's an upgrade. It's 200% heal each time you use Mealtime. That is like not super important, though it is free healing, I guess. Overall, conditional, like the first one's like conditional, and I'll still give it like a conditional, like let's say 3.5. I'll be generous here and give it a 0.5. This one's like I'm not even gonna rate it. It's just conditional. It's if you're playing defense-based damage characters, this is going to be insane. This one, why? And this one is also why. And then for this one's nice, I think, for general usage, just to thin out your deck and never have to see it again. So, copies. I suppose I'll go in depth on this when I look at save data, but I think you kind of want to split your copies because Mealtime reduces its cost by 1 each time you consume veracity, right? So you want a minimum of like 6 veracity, I would say, in your full deck, assuming you're cycling your full hand every single turn. If you're not, then you might want like more veracity, or you could just hold your Mealtime, because you're gonna like play your Mealtime and it's gonna cycle back later anyways. So like for the first one, let's just say like you pick up something that doesn't really generate veracity. If you like pick up Bottomless Hunger, this first one, the one that I really like, and you dupe this twice, that's 6 veracity. That's enough to zero out your Mealtime, and that lets you safely duplicate Voluntary Control for the rest of them. But then on the other hand, let's say like, so that was 2 Bottomless Hunger, 3 Voluntary Control. Let's say you looked at your deck and you're like, wow, this build, I don't have enough AP. Then you can kind of swap it around a bit. You can say, well, let's only use 2 Voluntary Control, and I will use 3 Bottomless Hunger instead, because then that's an additional -2 cost, and that -2 cost could be what you need to play your entire hand. So that is it for her cards. For her card restoration motions, I don't plan on getting any of these, but I would prioritize the cards that you plan on playing a bunch and also have her in the picture for. So for me, I think Mealtime is nice, honestly, just because it's like your big nuke and this card is just nice. Bottomless Hunger is also cool because you're probably duping this card. Shackles next probably, even though you don't really dupe this card unless you're going DPS. I think this is better than Voluntary Control just because it's just a hand. And then I think my like personal bias against this card is making me not like this, but this is probably the one after Shackles, and then Voluntary Control is last because it is just the hand. Take a look at her partners. I have Gaia. I actually don't think Gaia is that good. It's 8% at level 1, which I would assume everybody is at, if they have her at all. 8% defense, and then 20% defense-based damage. This is like basically 1 morale. And then when using a unique attack card of the assigned combatant with a minimum cost of 6, this is specifically Mealtime. You can get plus 20% damage amount of all, plus 20% the damage amount of all allies. It's another morale stack, pretty much. So this is 8 defense plus 40% for her personal damage. and then other allies get 20%. If you're looking for personal damage, you just go Alyssa, because Alyssa gives you 24% defense, which is kind of crazy. And then if you're looking for more like general support, then you just go Nyx. The card draw is super, super nice. It doesn't boost your stuff at all, because this is health, and it boosts your healing, I guess, but like kind of whatever. And then the draw, she doesn't innately have draw, so you'd have to use Portrait for this, but it does boost your damage dealt by allies by a little bit. I don't think Gaia is like super important. You can live just by using Alyssa, I think. Her ego skill, though, she does give you 60% defense-based damage times 4, and you draw 1 attack card. This attack card is any attack card in your deck, so you cannot specifically like draw Mealtime consistently with this. You're gonna pull a random attack card from somebody else more likely. One very, very niche usage is I have used this ego skill to hit 4 times and reduce my Mealtime cost before, which was something that happened once in a Chaos run. But the 4 hits, of course, does synergize with her personal buffs and morale. Just keep in mind, it will also consume said buffs. Save data, we'll save for last. For potential, you want unique, you want the stats. Controllers finally have stats. It's usually HP and attack here. We have defense and crit chance. These are great, there's no reason to not pick these up. And this one is really, really good, plus 10% damage amount to Voracity. If her defense is greater than 300, you also get plus 20% damage amount to Predation. So this is where that damage boost, or the boost to the damage boost that I talked about comes from. You're definitely going to want to pick this up, and I don't think 300 is that hard to hit, especially given how much defense controllers have. Memory Fragments, Tetra's Authority for plus 12% defense, Executioner's Tool for plus 25% crit damage, and then probably just Broken Set, honestly. I don't think Narja's getting like your top tier instinct gear, especially given that Serenial exists and Cassius temporarily exists until he gets banished to the Shadow Realm. I think you just do defense, crit damage, broken. If you do want a third set, then if you need like the sustain, you can go like HP set, or if you want a small amount of damage, you can go attack set, because while she is a def scaling character, I don't know if any of these cards explicitly say this. I think it does if I look at like any defense-based card. It's 10% of defense and 30% of attack. So there is a little bit of attack scaling. Odds are you're probably going to get better stats just by breaking your set than using attack set. But if you have like perfect attack set gear for a def scaler, then feel free to use it. What even is this? Yeah, something like this. No reason to not use it. So, for egos, I suppose I should look at too. I don't think these are like super important. More Predation for Mealtime. That's an extra 100% damage boost for 2 more hits. This one just gives you a chance to cycle a bunch of Voracity. On average, you would expect 4 Voracity to be 5 instead. This one increases the ego skill, makes it 8 Predation. And then this one increases your Predation damage amount even more. Like, you can see these are all just kind of like boost your damage a bit, boost your damage a bit, boost your damage a bit, boost your damage a bit. And this is the usual card upgrade. And then this is also just some damage and healing for each Predation decrease this turn. I feel like they're all like kind of like, they're all just like damage boosts, and she's a standard character anyway, so eventually you'll hit these, and it'll be nice to have slightly more damage when you do. Now let's take a look at some save data for Narja. For the equipment, I think it's largely going to be personal preference. This is all from Swamp. You have some damage boosting stuff, plus Clover, assuming you're using attack allies, or attack scaling allies. There's some other stuff, like Lab Zero has its usefulness, bad copy event and bad epiphany rate, but you have the Core of Discord for extra mythic chance if you need it, and also the additional shop without griefing. Your copy chances is really, really nice. There's Blue Pot, annoying boss, but it does have a pretty consistent removal event as well, with Lab Zero also having a removal event. So it's whatever equipment you want, really, whatever chaos you prefer farming. I think Swamp is nice though. First one is the standard support deck. This one I've kind of mentioned already. You have 2 Bottomless Hunger, which gives you 6 Voracity. And it also gives you 4 cost reductions, which is really, really nice. The rest of our copies go into Voluntary Control. We have 9 morale total, and this is assuming you can play your Mealtime before you play your Voluntary Control. Ideally, you would pick up Portrait. Portrait, 3 draw plus 3 Voracity consumptions. You only have to hit 3 more times in order to get Mealtime to 0 cost. You have a couple of options, like this hits twice, assuming you can like have Bottomless Hunger before you play the Shackles, assuming like you have the Voracity to consume with this card is nice. And then you just need 1 more hit, or you could just go for the 1 cost one. That's nets you plus 2 Voracity, and you hit 4 times, so it's 7 hits, and you're done. Your Mealtime's 1 cost, you can play it, play your Voluntary Controls, and then start doing your thing. The main, of course, we just get this out of our hand. So I think this is like a standard support deck. Of course, if you find yourself needing more cost reduction, then just dupe an extra Bottomless Hunger instead. You have flexibility with how you want to set this up, really. Like, if you really want, you could do it like this. You have a lot of options with what you want to do, really. But this is pretty standard support stuff. This next one's for basic attack spammers. You pick up the Voluntary Control. That gives you 50% damage amount to basic attacks and 1 Voracity every time a basic attack inflicts a hit. And then you're just, like, you might as well dupe the Bottomless Hungers. There's not really anything else to duplicate. Or this build, I think, the Shackles, depends who it is. Because if it's like Maelin, then you could run this Shackles and then do a big boom with your Rising Dragon Spire. Or if it's like Chizuru, you'd use this on a Bind 5 Shadows of the Moon Plus. For Maelin, you're going to run a Predation, but the damage amount should stay. Otherwise, like, it's just the usual Shackles cards, but I think this one's kind of neat, especially because since your basics pretty much perma-maintain the Voracity, and you're getting 12 Voracity from the rest of your Bottomless Hungers, you should have enough to use this card no problem. Plus you have your Eco Skill in the worst case scenario. So this is what like a basic attack spammer deck would look like. This one, it's literally the same thing, but it just swaps out this one. This one is kind of like, maybe somebody else in the future will use this too, but this was mainly I was thinking for Haru, because you get 1 predation every time it gets moved to hand, and then you could, because this says it decreases the cost for 1 turn. Not that I've actually checked, but it would be kind of funny if you could like get Anchor Shot to 0 cost and then just spam it over and over again. I think would be a kind of funny build. This is the meme DPS Narja deck, where you just kind of defense boost, Mealtime 3, morale, and then you just spam your Shackles, hit a bunch multiple times, and do a ton of damage. It would be nice if you could somehow split this and pick up one of this as well, but not really realistic. More likely, it's just going to look something like this. And this was just, I was just looking at some Ray stuff, because this is what like Ray's boost would look like. Ray has a bit of upfront draw, which is nice, and the upgrades thin the deck. I think she does cost a lot more AP though, but her damage boost is a bit easier to work with, I think. Plus her amp is also a lot easier to work with. That is it for all the Narja save datas. Now we're going to have the question of, like, who do you use Narja with? And honestly, anybody that you used Miko with, you could probably use Narja. I think anybody that you used Ray with, you could also probably use Narja, though Ray, I think, is still, like, I still personally prefer Ray, just for, like, damage boosting purposes. But Narja is going to provide a ton of healing, plus her sub DPS. Of course, her biggest weakness that I've talked about a bunch is her complete lack of draw. So you really want to run her with a dedicated draw support. So that's Veronica, that's Nia with the Eternal Hunger build, that is Cassius until they like break his kneecaps. One thing to note with Veronica is that her ballistas will consume Voracity, and it will proc this like Bottomless Hunger effect. So this Bottomless Hunger should be able to carry between turns, but your ballista is going to just reduce the cost on that turn, and then that like the card goes into your discard pile, or even if it's a retain, your turn ends, so this one turn effect ends. So that kind of sucks. A little bit of anti-synergy there, depending on how like you're trying to do things, but Veronica, absolutely insane draw support, so still pretty worth it, I think, generally. You really do need draw with this character. Like, you already want to be drawing all your DPS cards, and then you also have to draw Narja's cards. You have the potential for, like, Divine Epiphanies, though, of course, on your cards. Especially, like, this compared to Raised Predator Blade, you can hit Divines on this, which is kind of cool, though I usually don't factor in Divines into my builds just because of how RNG they are. Maybe it'll get better in Season 2, though. We'll see. That is it for the full Narja guide. This got a lot longer than I thought it would, to be honest. I did not think it was going to take this long. Do note that, like, I don't think she's, like, necessary. She's fun to use, and if you're really sick of using Mika, you can start using Narja now instead. We're gonna get more info around the start of Season 2 about 9. Also, with the balance patch, who's getting buffed, who's getting nerfed. There's also, like, there aren't really defense scaling characters to fully utilize that aspect of her kit yet. So, she's definitely a very flexible character. I think you could get good use out of her if you really want to. But hopefully this guide helped you guys, and I'll see you guys next time.